here you have Socrates. He sees himself as the gadfly of the gods. He's like an annoying little fly that keeps buzzing around, messing with people, not letting them be complacent and lax in their opinions and their beliefs, but he always loves to challenge. Like, why are we doing things this way? Why do we think this? Why do we believe that? Why is our society arranged this way? Why do we have these views about the gods? And some of these questions got him into big trouble, especially his questions about the gods. Because remember, the Greco-Roman gods are very anthropomorphic. And you can easily see how you could make fun or ask questions about the activities of the gods and goddesses. In fact, a lot of them had awful vices, right? Horrific tempers, jealousy, anger, drunkenness, lust, backbiting, deceit, treachery. I mean, they had all the virtues of humans magnified, but also all the vices of humans magnified. This is not like the God of the Bible. This is not like this creator spirit who is beyond physical form, who has all these omnis, right? Omnibenevolence, omnipresence, omnipotence, God having all these things. This is not the type of gods we're talking about. His ideas of the gods is very different than these anthropomorphic Greco-Roman gods, and Greco in this case. All right, so as he's questioning the gods, as he's questioning society, and once again, Socrates is not a believer in democracy because he believes the mob, the hoi polloi, the majority, is wrong most of the time. They have baser appetites, they're less educated, they have more base or carnal needs, and he was advocating for the rule of philosophers or philosopher kings. That's who you want in charge, not some despot, not some military warlord, but a philosopher who's thinking for first principles, who's looking for the good of the whole, and who can use his intellect and wisdom for the good of the city-state. So eventually charges are brought against Socrates. One of them is disparaging or having disrespect of the gods. The other is disrespecting or threatening Athenian democratic society. And the third charge I'm aware of was corrupting the youth, probably filling their head with crazy ideas, right? And he was a favorite among the youth of Athens, but not so much among the elders and the rulers of the city. So Socrates is brought on trial, and the Athenians ask him what they think the consequences should be for his actions. And Socrates, I love Socrates. Socrates says, well, first of all, I think you should commission a life-size statue in my honor out of marble. Secondly, I think there should be like a holiday in my honor where the entire city gives thanks that they were alive in the same time that I was here with you. And as you can imagine, they were not amused. They did not think it was funny, and they condemned him to death. But then they felt bad because even though he was annoying, no one wanted to put Socrates to death. He was kind of like an icon of the city. They just wanted him to mellow out and stop being so annoying. But Socrates, in fact, they actually tried to make it so he could escape. They would leave his jail cell open. They just wanted him to go away. They didn't want to kill him. But because of his view of the city-state, he saw Athens as like his parents. And he says, if my parents want to kill me, the people that gave me life, brought me into the world, educated, taught me, and kind of made me the man I am today, if they're not happy with who I am, then I want to die. I want them to kill me. And so either change your sentence or declare me a free man. And they didn't want to change their sentence. And so Socrates, the way they did executions at this time was through hemlock. And hemlock, there's different types of hemlock. This is the herb hemlock, which is very toxic. There's also a hemlock tree, which is not, but it's not the hemlock tree, it's the herb hemlock. And they made a poison out of it that he was to drink. And so the part I want to share with you today from the Phaedo is the conversation Socrates was having with his young students, friends, and disciples on his impending death. And the topic is going to be on whether or not the soul is immortal. And so this is coming from a pagan Greek philosopher, but he's talking about the immortality of the soul. So already you see how different he is from all the people we've studied before us, because they were all materialists, but Socrates believes in an immaterial part of the body that lives on after our physical vehicle has gone back into the earth, has returned to the elements from which it came. Our soul or spirit returns to God or the spirit realm from which it came. So this is a huge shift in Greek philosophy, and it's going to change everything. One of the main themes in the Phaedo is the idea that the soul is immortal. In the dialogue, Socrates discusses the nature of the afterlife on his last day before being executed by drinking hemlock. Socrates has been imprisoned and sentenced to death by an Athenian jury for not believing in the gods of the state, little g gods. So we're talking like Athena, Zeus, Hera, and the gang. Socrates definitely believed in God or a god. He just wasn't buying into these anthropomorphic Greek gods. He agreed with Protagoras. Yeah, you guys just made these up and projected them into the heavens. So yeah, why should you listen to what they say if they're just human projections? But Socrates had a much higher view of God than a lot of his other contemporary Greeks. But that's part of why he got in trouble, because he wasn't mocking the capital G absolute eternal God, but he was making fun of the little g gods and goddesses of the Greek pantheon. And Socrates explores various arguments for the soul's immortality in order to show that there is an afterlife in which the soul will dwell following death. Phaedo tells the story that following the discussion, he and the others were there to witness the death of Socrates. And it's kind of humorous, and there's some really famous romantic period paintings of the death of Socrates, where he's like on a divan, reclining, and he has this goblet of poison, and he has all his followers around him, all emotionally distraught. But Socrates is as cool as a cucumber because of his beliefs of what happens to the soul after we die. He actually sees the prison as a cage and a bondage and a hindrance to truth. And that once our soul is released from this bondage, we have a much better chance of understanding capital T objective truth. It's our eyes, our ears, our senses, our flesh that is inhibiting us. So the soul set free doesn't have to deal with all these distractions. So apparently, as he's about to drink the hemlock, do you guys know what a libation is to the gods? A libation? It's like a drink offering. So say I'm having a cup of coffee, but I want to honor the goddess of hot beverages. Well, I might pour out a little on the temple steps or in her garden or courtyard as like, here you go, honey, thanks for hot beverages. And so Socrates asks, as he's about to drink the poison, he says, would it be inappropriate to offer a libation of hemlock to the gods? So he had a sense of humor even on his deathbed. And but he had no fear. And it's not because he was a Christian. It's not because he had the Holy Spirit. It's none of those things. It's because he had such a strong and clear belief of the immortality of the soul. And he was actually looking forward to death. Now, he believed we weren't allowed to take our own lives because it was part of the process and the purification of the soul. But when death was coming, we shouldn't fear it. We should embrace it as almost like the doors of our cage is finally being opened.